Reporting from Arkham Asylum, this is Gotham Rogues. In this video we count down the 5 greatest Firefly stories ever told. Several people have requested I do this video, and I was going to eventually anyway, but probably not this soon. I mean before major rogues like Harley Quinn, Bane and Mr. Freeze. And yes, they will all get done too. I guess I'm a bit surprised that old Garfield Lynns, aka the Firefly, is so popular among you guys. Throughout his history he's often been seen as kind of a B-list loser villain, but I guess maybe not anymore. His numerous recent appearances outside of the comics has probably helped elevate Firefly's status among the fans. Anyway, there aren't that many Firefly stories in the comics, but there were enough to make this top 5 list of the greatest ones, so let's get started. Number 5. Nightfall. For those few of you who don't know, Nightfall is a massive arc published in 1993. It featured Batman's first battle with Bane. In order to weaken the Dark Knight, both physically and mentally, Bane starts a breakout in Arkham Asylum, setting loose all of its deranged inmates upon Gotham City. It's now up to Batman to recapture every single one of them. Among these inmates is Garfield Lynns, aka the Firefly. His parts were primarily written by Chuck Dixon and penciled by Graham Nolan. The story features a complete reimagining of the character and introduced the modern pyromaniac Firefly that we know today. Earlier, the pre-crisis version of Lynns wore a completely different costume and used various lightning tricks as weapons, not fire. Anyway, free and about for the first time in years, Lynns wreaks havoc on Gotham, burning down all the places that reminds him of his unhappy childhood. Garfield was an orphan and could never get adopted due to his history of pyromania. Before finding out about his little hobby, the couples would tell him how they take Garfield to all these various places, like amusement parks, these same places that Lynns is now burning down. This story was the first to turn Firefly into an actual respectable rogue, as previously he was really a laughingstock. Here, Lynns was given a cool costume, a better gimmick, and an interesting backstory and motivations. He's not motivated by greed or simple revenge or anything like that. Instead, Lynns is driven by his obsession with fire and his anger at a lost childhood. But now, ironically, he finally gets to enjoy these places as an adult, as they're completely engulfed by the flames he loves so much. He's portrayed as very deranged, yet at the same time kinda sympathetic. Number 4. Ignition, City on Fire. A 2-parter published across the first 2 issues of Streets of Gotham in 2009. It was written by Paul Dini and penciled by Dustin Nguyen. In this story, Lynns, who's been in the employ of the Black Mask for years, runs rogue and sets in motion a sick scheme of his own. He secretly injected thousands of random Gothamites with incendiary charges, triggered via remote control. Firefly bides his time, then suddenly, without warning, thousands of people simultaneously burst into flames all over the city. It's up to Batman and Robin to solve this case of seemingly spontaneous combustions and prevent them from happening again. Firefly is always a deranged bastard, but this is probably the most psychotic and sinister we've ever seen him. It's a simple plot really, but so horrifying and effective. If Lynns wanted to spread fear and terror, then he certainly succeeded. But this being Garfield Lynns, that's not really what he was after. He believes that the bleak city of Gotham is long dead. No one's just been willing to bury it. So he's going to do it, and give it a hell of a spectacular funeral pyre. Lynns has always been an angry outcast, full of hate for society, and nowhere is that more evident than here. He may not be sympathetic in the story, but he's a great, scary antagonist. And if you believe that Firefly can't be a big threat, then you really should check this one out. Number 3. The Firefly's Blaze of Glory. A one-shot published in The Outsiders number 16 in 1986. It was written by Mike W. Baer and penciled by Jerome Moore. This is the only entry on the list that features the old original goofy Firefly. In the story, Firefly escapes from his prison transport and sets in motion a scheme to get revenge on the Outsiders. A few issues earlier in Outsiders number 12, Lynns was easily beaten by Outsider members Looker and Halo. The eccentric rogue challenges the team to face him at the Dodgers Stadium during an event called Light Night, which the Outsiders gladly accept, expecting Lynns to go down easily once again. However, much to their surprise, Firefly manages to steal the light-based powers of Halo and becomes a formidable threat, defeating the team. Halo is also sent into a coma, and the team must find Lynns, beat the powered-up Firefly, and somehow get Halo her powers back in order to save her. This is by far the best of all the old school Firefly stories. Not that there's much competition, but still. Instead of playing him up straight as an actual serious villain, or just taking a giant crap all over him, declaring the guy a complete joke, this comic lovingly portrays Lynns as a goofball loser rogue who wants to be considered a bona fide supervillain. Nobody's able to take the guy seriously in the story, as let's face it, he looks incredibly silly. But his gimmicks are actually quite effective, and when he acquires the abilities of Halo, Firefly becomes a very powerful foe. Lynns is a very entertaining and likable character here, a guy tired of being seen as a D-list joke rogue, proving to everyone that there is more to him. But yeah, he's still goofy as hell. If you like stories about loser villains wanting to prove themselves, then I can't recommend this comic any higher. It's one of the best in the game. It can be viewed as a love letter to not only the old version of Firefly, but really any silly Silver Age villain. Number 2. Batgirl Year One. A 9-issue maxi-series published in 2003. It was written by Scott Beatty and Chuck Dixon and penciled by Marcos Martin. This series is a complete retelling of Barbara Gordon's origin as the first Batgirl for the post-crisis continuity. The big villain she faces during her first outings as a vigilante is everyone's favorite loser rogue, Killer Moth. Moth is humiliated when he's defeated by this inexperienced little girl during a masquerade ball stick-up, and then vows to get vengeance. He also dreams of becoming a big shot in the Gotham underworld and setting up his protection racket for crooks business. Nothing is going his way, however. That is until the Moth meets a psychotic pyromaniac named Garfield Lynns. Lynns was a special effects creator working in Hollywood who was fired after he deliberately burned a lead actress on set. Kicked out of his profession, Garfield sees a new chance at burning stuff up when joining Killer Moth and adopting the supervillain persona Firefly. The problem is, has the Moth gotten himself in way over his head when teaming up with the insane and ruthless Lynns? Besides being the origin of Batgirl, this comic also serves as the origin of Firefly. It's another story where the character is not portrayed in a sympathetic light. This Garfield Lynns is a total psycho who's completely detached from the world and not interested in anything but the flames. The dynamic between the two main villains here, Moth and Firefly, is very fun and entertaining. They're so unlike. Lynns is a dead serious lunatic, while Moth is kind of a fool who has no idea what he's really doing. He's like a geek who's read too many comics and now wants to be a real-life supervillain, but has no idea what it really means and all the dangers involved. He's not playing for keeps, like Lynns is. This is easily one of the greatest Bat-Rogue team-ups we've ever seen, and it's also a great origin for Firefly. And now for the greatest Firefly story ever told. Number 1. The Blazing Heart, Burning Love. A two-parter, this one was published in Detective Comics 689 and 690 in 1995. The writer was once again Chuck Dixon and the penciler was Stas Johnson. Freshly escaped from Blackgate, Firefly acquires his job as a Black Mask's top arsonist, deciding to combine business with pleasure. Meanwhile, he also settles down in a crummy apartment building in downtown Gotham, where Garfield develops an attraction for his introverted neighbor, Delia. Eventually, he summons up the courage to ask Delia out, and the two begin dating. But for how long can he hide the truth from her that he is in fact the supervillain Firefly? So naturally, a Dixon story nabs the number 1 spot. No one's done more for Garfield Lynns than him. He's the one who introduced the modern pyromaniac version, and he's the one who's primarily been writing the character since then. If it weren't for good old Chuck, Firefly would have been a forgotten, goofy loser villain still to this day, probably. What's so great about this story is that it's the only one that truly depicts Lynns as a sympathetic and likable guy. Usually he's a sicko maniac, like in Batgirl Year One and the Paul Dini two-parter from Streets of Gotham. But here, he's kind of just an ordinary dude who worries about dates and stuff like that. We really get to see him as a human doing everyday stuff, but then he also just happens to be a supervillain, which is so humorous. Reminds me a bit of several Mojo Jojo episodes from the Powerpuff Girls cartoon. There's also an interesting twist to his obsession with fire, that he sees beautiful, sensual women dancing in the flames. So that's why he loves to stare at the fires he starts. He says they're angels, but what's really going on here? Is he so bonkers he's hallucinating? Or has Garfield just inhaled too much fumes over the years? The story kinda hints it could be either of the two, but doesn't really spell anything out. So there you have it. Those are the 5 greatest Firefly stories ever told, in my opinion. Remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.